The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, what are the varieties of vision?" The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, "Good son, in sum there are three kinds. The first is vision from images. The second is vision from inquiry. The third is vision from penetration. Vision from images is that vision which reflects solely upon images for reflection brought about by concentration. Vision from inquiry is that vision which, through wisdom, attentively reflects upon those things not yet well understood in order to understand them well. Vision from penetration is that vision which attentively reflects upon those things already well understood by encompassing them within wisdom in order to realize them and attain liberation." The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, what are the general varieties of quietude?" The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, "Good son, since they follow upon that thinking uninterrupted by images, you should understand that here also there are three kinds. There are also 8 kinds, for each meditation is a kind of quietude, from the first to the 8th meditation of neither conceptualization nor non-conceptualization. Again, there are 4 kinds, for each of the 4 immeasurable activities of friendliness, compassion, joy, and abandonment is a kind of quietude." The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, you have taught about quietude and vision, supported by the doctrine of the great vehicle and not supported by that doctrine. What do these terms mean?" The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, "Good son, the quietude and vision supported by the doctrine are that quietude and vision attained through the doctrine and its meaning first received and pondered by the Bodhisattvas. The quietude and vision not supported by the Bodhisattva doctrine are the quietude and vision attained not through the images of the doctrine the Bodhisattvas have received and pondered, but through the instructions and meanings of other teachings, such as meditation upon decaying and rotting bodies, or upon the impermanence of all things, the suffering of all conditioned states of being, the no-self of all things, or the final quiescence of cessation. Such quietude and vision I designate as not supported by doctrine. But if they have attained a quietude and vision supported by the Bodhisattva doctrine, those Bodhisattvas I have designated as followers of the doctrine, and they have keen faculties, while if they attain a quietude and vision not supported by doctrine, those Bodhisattvas I have designated as followers of faith, and they have dull faculties." The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, you have taught about quietude and vision that take as their object different doctrines, and about quietude and vision that take as their object a unified doctrine. What do those terms mean?" The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, "Good son, when a Bodhisattva takes as his object of understanding each point of the doctrine of the scriptures, etc., and practices quietude and vision in regard to these doctrines which he has received and pondered, that is termed quietude and vision that take as their object different doctrines. When a Bodhisattva takes as the object of his understanding the doctrine of all the scriptures, etc., and attentively reflects upon all these doctrines as one lump, one accumulation, one whole, one gathering up, all in harmony with suchness, turning toward suchness, approaching suchness, in harmony with wisdom, with cessation, with the conversion of support, going toward these, if in approaching these doctrines, he proclaims the unlimited, incalculable doctrine, and with this reflection practices quietude and vision, that is termed quietude and vision that take as their object a unified doctrine." The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, you have taught about quietude and vision that take as their object a minor unified doctrine, about quietude and vision that take as their object a great unified doctrine, and about quietude and vision that take as their object an unlimited unified doctrine. What do these terms mean?" The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, Good son, if one takes as the object of understanding and meaning of each of the scriptures and of the other 11 divisions of the teachings, and attentively reflects upon them as one lump, etc., this is to be known as the quietude and vision that take as their object a minor unified doctrine. But if one takes as the object of understanding the doctrine of the scriptures, etc., received and pondered, and attentively reflects upon them as one lump, etc., without considering them separately, then this is to be known as the quietude and vision that take as their object a great unified doctrine. If one takes as the objects of understanding the unlimited doctrinal teaching of the Tathagata, the unlimited words and expressions of that doctrine, and the unlimited clarifications of ever more excellent wisdom, and attentively reflects upon them as one lump, etc., without considering them separately, then that is to be termed the quietude and vision that take as their object an unlimited unified doctrine. The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, World-honored one, why do you say that the Bodhisattvas attain quietude and vision that take as their object of understanding the unified doctrine? The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, Good son, there are 5 reasons that should be understood. The first is that when they reflect, from moment to moment, they purge away support for all weakness. The second is that they sever all varieties of concepts and take their joy in doctrine. The third is that they understand the unlimited light of doctrine, which has no differentiating marks anywhere. The fourth is that they bring forth purified, non-reflective images for the accomplishment of duty. The fifth is that, in order to bring the Dharma body to fulfillment, they encompass that preeminent, wondrous cause for ever-increasing development. The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, World-honored one, when are this quietude and vision that take as their object the unified doctrine said to be understood? At what point are they attained? The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, Good son, they are said to be understood from the very first stage of utmost joy, and are said to be attained from the 3rd stage of expanding light. Good son, Bodhisattvas just beginning their practices should also study and focus upon these states of quietude and vision without remiss, even though they are yet unable to be praised for attaining them. The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, World-honored one, when is it that this quietude and vision are said to be a concentration having both inquiry and judgment? To be a concentration having no inquiry, but only judgment? To be a concentration having neither inquiry nor judgment? The Bodhisattva answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, Good son, that quietude and vision are termed a concentration with both investigation and inquiry when they experience and realize doctrinal descriptions as received, investigated, and inquired about, even though they may be grossly obvious. That quietude and vision are said to be a concentration having no investigation but only inquiry when they experience and realize doctrinal descriptions as remembered in their subtle light, even though not experiencing or realizing what is grossly obvious. Quietude and vision are said to be a concentration with neither investigation nor inquiry when they experience and realize those doctrinal descriptions without any effort to reflect at all. Furthermore, good son, quietude and vision accompanied by investigation is termed a concentration with both investigation and inquiry. Quietude and vision accompanied by inquiry are termed a concentration that has no investigation but only inquiry. Quietude and vision that take as the content of understanding the unified doctrine are termed a concentration that has neither investigation nor inquiry. The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, World-honored one, what are the marks of quietude? What are the marks of the initiative for vision? What are the marks of abandonment? The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, Good son, Whenever thinking becomes flighty or is about to become flighty, quietude is characterized as a focusing upon those things that can engender disgust, or by a focusing upon thinking uninterrupted by images. Whenever thinking becomes languid or is about to become languid, initiative for vision is characterized as a focusing upon those things that can bring joy, or by a focusing upon the images of that thinking. Whenever one becomes defiled by these two passionate inclinations, whether in the practice of quietude, the practice of vision, or the practice of both in synergy, abandonment is characterized as an effortless focusing and spontaneity of mind. The Bodhisattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, that entire multitude of those bodhisattvas who practice quietude and vision know both doctrine and its meaning. What is knowing doctrine? What is knowing meaning?" The Buddha answered the Bodhisattva Maitreya and said, "Good son, all those bodhisattvas understand and know doctrine in 5 aspects, for they know its names, its phrases, its descriptions, its differences, and its unity. The knowledge of its names consists in knowing its conceptual designations, which delineate essences in all defiled and purified things. The knowing of its phrases consists in the ability to maintain and establish in discourse all defiled and purified things among that collection of names. The knowing of its writings consists in knowing the words that are based upon these 2 supports of names and phrases. The knowing of its differences consists in focusing, which objectifies each of those differences. The knowing of its unity consists in focusing, which objectifies that unity. When all of these come together into one, that is knowing doctrine. That is why it is said that those bodhisattvas know doctrine. Good son, those bodhisattvas know meaning in 10 aspects, for they know the limit of being, the suchness of being, the meaning of subject, the meaning of object, the meaning of environment, the meaning of enjoyment, the meaning of mistakes, the meaning of the absence of mistakes, the meaning of defilement, and the meaning of purification. Good son, the limit of being refers to the limit to the analysis of all that exists among all defiled and purified things. This includes all that exists, such as the 5 aggregates, the 6 bases of internal consciousness, and the 6 bases of external consciousness. The suchness of all things refers to suchness existing in all defiled and purified things. This term includes the suchness of all things. There are 7 kinds. The first is the suchness of the transmigratory flow, for all conditioned states of being have neither beginning nor end. The second is the suchness of descriptive marks, for in all things, both persons and things have no self. The third is the suchness of conscious construction, for all conditioned states of being are nothing but conscious construction. The fourth is the suchness of what is given, that is, the truth about suffering that I have preached. The fifth is the suchness of false conduct, that is, the truth about the origin of suffering that I have preached. The sixth is the suchness of purification, that is, the truth of the destruction of suffering that I have preached. And the 7th is the suchness of correct practice, that is, the truth of the path that I have preached.